Hey, this is Rusty Byrd with Coach John Robinette. This is our debut episode of the Forest Park Football Show. Welcome to the show, Coach Robinette.
Hi, happy to be here and enjoying the time with you, buddy.
Well, actually, I said welcome to the show like it was the Kirk and Bird show, but this is our show. And I'm really glad we've got a chance to do this. One, I've known you for a number of years. I think I first met you through Steve Estwick. Our kids played flag football together, and we
Yep.
were assistant coaches on Steve's team.
Yeah, we are rolling around there. My first experience with flag football, with youth flag football. It was,
Yeah, yeah.
enjoyed it.
So,
Enjoyed Steve's company. You guys made it fun.
yeah, yep. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So I'm really excited because I wanted to do something like this, but it was important to have the right coach. I know a lot of coaches. I've coached around here. I know a lot of the guys, but I really feel comfortable. One, because you're a good dude. I know you personally, but I really like your program, what you've done with the athletes you have there, the way you lead your program and just what you're all about. So, but I know those things, but I want some of the people out there, some of the Forest Park, some of the Prince William County sports fans to get to know you a little better. The other thing is you have a strong group of seniors who've been at this for a while, and there's a lot of other factors that we'll get into. But I just want to again thank you for joining me this year on this lecture on Forest Park football. Coach Robinette, look, we got a lot we can get into tonight. This is the first episode. I want to first talk about the Bruins last year. So for the last couple of years, if I'm not mistaken, you all have finished second in the Cardinal District. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a pretty good run. A lot of people we've been building the program. We made the playoffs 3 years in a row. I'm pretty proud of that. Now we've got to figure out a way to get past the first round. But I think we've worked hard over here. A lot of different people are involved. A great assistant group, good support by the administration, and we've been able to slowly build and steadily build to pretty good team this year. I think we got a lot of talent, a lot of hard workers, and we got talent that works hard, and that gives you a chance.
Yeah. How many years is this for you at Forest Park as the head coach?
This is my 6th year, I think. Yeah, six. Yeah,
Wow,
six
time
years.
flies. Okay, all
Yeah.
right. Um, and we'll get into your coaching history and the fact that you're a homegrown Prince William County guy, and we'll learn more about that later on as this episode and seasons go on. But
Gotcha.
how was your off season? You do a lot of really great things. I know you have some camps that help kids, but what about just um, with Forest Park and your athletes? What are some of the things you all did in the off season? And did you think it was a good off season?
Yeah, I was really impressed with our commitment to the process with our off season. I mean, we're similar in a lot of ways to a lot of teams, but we do some of our own things. One thing that might be a little different in ours, we work out in the morning before school, and it's a lot to do with we have a lot of teams in the winter and the spring who all are super competitive, and we're very limited with space. So we'd lift. The kids would come in at 5:15 in the morning, and we had really good numbers and the commitment to get any teenager up at 5:15 in the morning. But they showed up in pretty good numbers, and kids were dedicated to the process, getting bigger, faster, stronger. We've been fortunate. We've had some talented kids here. It was interesting. I had a comment. We had Wake Forest and Virginia Tech come in one morning to watch one of our linemen workouts, and it was 5:30 in the morning. One kind of speaks to the talent level we have that those guys are willing to wake up and come on by. And they were impressed at the idea. Wow, this is a random Thursday morning in the middle of February, and we've got 25 linemen there. And the kids were great. They showed up. I really was impressed. And then in the summer, we just kept rolling. We've got a great group of freshmen who've shown up, and they've really kind of bumped our numbers way up. When I first came here in the program, I mean, we were struggling with 65 to 75 kids total in the program. And COVID definitely took a hit on everyone's program, but we're about 120 now, which is a good
Wow.
deal. We're going to play a couple freshman games this year. We
That's
don't
what I was
have,
going to
say,
ask. Okay. If
we
wow,
don't
great.
have a full freshman slate, but it's nice that we're getting, right now we got 4 games scheduled for them. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, that is good. That's really good because having that many number of athletes on the team and fielding a freshman team. Have you noticed over the years that you're getting athletes that have never played football?
Yes, we're getting a pretty decent mix. We'll get a whole group of kids that have been, playing in the youth leagues from APWFL and 703 United and PME, and then on the other end of it, we get kids who just want to give it a shot. And I'm I think we're fairly open to the idea of giving some new players a shot. In the years past, we've gotten in a situation where we used to get a lot of first year senior players
Mm.
and guys who were playing other sports who decided to give football a shot. And we still get that now, but we're getting a lot more kids from their freshman year on. And, we don't, if I've got helmets, you can play. If you're willing to commit to the process and be a part of the team, I try to field as many kids who want to come out there. Now, I don't promise playing time to anybody, but at the same time, if you want to work hard, be part of our group, enjoy the company of, teammates and doing something that's difficult and you're willing to work, let's do it. And I think that's helped grow our program to make it a bit more inclusive as far as instead of exclusive. So it's been good, and
Oh, good.
really enjoy the growth we've been able to manage to create, and it's been a really huge team effort.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's something to be proud of. All right, so we talked about your off season. Now here we are, 2024. You got an experienced group. You've had some success over the last couple of years, finishing second in the district. What are some of your goals for this year?
Yeah, I mean, we want to continue to grow, improve where we were before. I mean, we keep score, so we want to win them all. And I think it's important that we don't lose that. It is important what the final outcome comes, and we have expectations around here that we're going to do well. And a successful on the field season for us is we're playing deep into November and December, and I don't think that's with the talent we have out of question. And the goal from year to year doesn't change. We want to win state championships just like everybody else, and that's the bottom line goal. But at the same time, we want to do it in a way that's fun, and it includes growth, doing difficult things, and accepting and growing as young men, and enjoying the ride while we do it. That it's not all drudgery and
Mm-hmm.
awfulness, but it's also not just like you and I shooting around, having some fun, laughing a little bit. We term it serious fun around here. Let's let's
Yeah,
let's get after it and earn it,
I like
but
that.
let's have some fun doing it too.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was my junior year playing at Bethel. My sophomore year we were really good, had a lot of talent. My junior year we were not good, and I just remember we finished that year, I think 2-8 or 3-7. But I remember jogging around warm ups before and I was just like, I'm ready for this season to be. Like I said, I just want the game to the games to
Yeah,
happen, but this part's not fun. My senior year we were really good. We ended up playing Hampton High for the district championship, and it was just a total. It was a great season, and it was that feel. I would like to think it wasn't because of the wins or losses. It was just I think we grew.
yeah, it helps definitely having success on the field, but I think, and it's something as players they don't get right now, but now as I'm looking at it from my 52-year-old lens, the scores and I remember the games, but it's the feeling you had, the fact that you were doing it with these other guys, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very unique, I don't know, special kind of experience to play high school football. And I didn't play college football, but I know the guys who did play college football. It's even different then. It's more of a business. It's more, it's the experience of high school football is different. And I think those who go through it are pretty happy that they did it, regardless of record. Now, I had a ton of success in high school, but playing, but I think it's a shared experience that's very unique, and especially with teenagers and things like that, doing things that are difficult isn't always the easiest thing in the world, and sharing that experience makes it the value.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Who are some of the key veterans? First, I'll ask you, I want to know about your veterans, but do you have any surprising newcomers or, whether
Yeah,
they're
we've got
up-
that's why this season is far really optimistic about it because we've got a good mix of some veteran leadership and some really talented older kids, but we also got some really good youth talent, young talent coming through.
oh, okay.
Now the $1 million trick is to meld it together and make sure that everyone's on the same page and we're using every bit of it we can. But some of the veterans that we have coming back, Nathaniel Wright, he's plays right tackle for us in D line. Uh, he's been actually with us. He joined us his 8th grade year during the COVID season. He played
During
JV
COVID.
for
That's
us.
right.
Um, Evan Weeks is another. He's a linebacker. Who's another. He's been with me since the 8th grade as well. Brandon Adozie is another large offensive lineman who's done a great job. Just was a basketball player who decided to
Yep.
play some. Had never played before 2 or 3 years ago. And we talk about kind of the culture, team, that welcoming environment. And I don't know if that happens if we're more of a exclusive, do it, this is the only way to go kind of.
Success a few years before that with the
Yeah,
lineman
Gilbert Tongrangu. Yeah.
Gilbert. Yes, yes,
Yeah, he
yes,
was a
yes.
soccer player.
A soccer
Um,
player. Yeah.
yeah, and then it's funny. We had the COVID year. We had a swimmer come out and played just 1 year, and he just that one COVID season, and it would have been great. And he was every bit of 6'4", 245 pounds, and
Wow.
he just had a ball playing. And I think you know we work hard to try and cultivate that environment of trying to get these guys to come out. And the other coaches in the building are phenomenal. That no one really attempts to hoard their athletes or prevent them from playing. We do a pretty good job of making sure we all share in the pool. But we've got a lot of, I mean, other guys we have coming back. Landon Hunt's another, our tailback from
Yeah.
last year.
I
He's a pretty
coached him in
special guy.
track. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, really enjoy coaching him. Antonio Jones is a name that I'm going to put both as a newcomer and a returning guy because he played a lot of linebacker for us last year and was, I think he's second team all district. Um, but he's an explosive player that plays downhill and he's going to run the ball for us. So,
Okay.
and he's got a different gear. He's a different kind of runner. So I'm excited to see him. And I think we've got a pretty good 1-2 punch back there and veteran offensive line. A guy who, those two guys, Brandon and Nathaniel, get a lot of publicity, but I think our other guys, Savion Wooden and Michael Diaz and Evan White and Elijah Fosu, are all guys that are just hardworking dudes and make us go. It's a lot of fun coaching them, but those are some of the returning guys that we have. Antonio Jones is kind of a newcomer because I don't think he's an unknown quantity from teams that watch us. But some of the new guys, we had a really good group of, I guess they're sophomores now, but last year were freshmen, but who are going to help us this year on the varsity and play significant minutes. Kids like
Okay.
Moncrief. Again, Mateo Moncrief is a heck of a player who just had to kind of grow a little bit into his size, but he's got some athletic skill that I think is going to turn some heads. Another name is Colin Swift. He's another sophomore who's going to play some DB for us and some slot receiver. Malik Davis is a rising senior. He was with us, but he was coming off a torn ACL last year. So
Right.
he really couldn't, he contributed late in the year, but it's been nice to have a healthy Malik, and he plays DN for us. And he's just a million miles an hour all the time. High energy, high motor, loves to play. I think they're all really good. And interestingly enough, if you want to talk special teams, we got a senior kicker to come out, a guy named Dylan Cross. And it's
Okay.
interesting, we've had the last couple of years, I think ever since the COVID year, we had our first soccer player come out and kick for us, a guy
Okay.
named Brady Frost. And he actually ended up being, I think, for first or second team all district punter and
Oh,
kicker that year. And
wow.
at the end of the season, he's like, "Man, I really enjoyed this." It's okay. Here's your thank you to me.
Mm.
You've got to recruit the next soccer player. And we've
Okay.
had the string of seniors. So Brady got Owen Rayvert to play, and then Owen last year got Ben Colcom to play, and Ben Colcom convinced Dylan to play. We're only getting them for a year, but at the same time, it's been that growth of a program and that using other athletes. It's been great, and I think Dylan has a chance to be probably the best of all those guys. He's going to be a weapon for us. And guys who know football, if you have a kicker who can put in the end zone every time on a kickoff, and they've got to start at the 20 every time, that's huge. And I think he's pretty consistent. He puts it about 4 or 5 yards deep every time.
Wow.
So we're pretty excited about that. And he can bang a field goal from just about anywhere within 40 yards, which, and again, in high school is another weapon that you can use. So those are guys that that I have in front of me that I think we're excited about. We've got a bunch more, but it's a nice mix between older kids and younger kids.
So let's stay on the kicking, and we'll go. I wanted to talk about your offense, defense a little bit, but we'll stay with special teams. So your kicking game is strong, and that's a big deal. I mean, I've seen some Division 3, Division 2 programs that don't have kickers, and it kills them. When they
Yeah.
really need it. So to have a quality kicker in high school is great. But on the other, what's your return game going to look like?
I think where we saw it, like I said, we got a good mix of pretty good athletes. It's making sure we're blocking and defending up front and giving them a chance. Coach Ron Robinson does a fantastic job with our special teams. He's an old APYFL guy. But he does a really good job coaching the kickers and the snappers and the holders and just our whole overall scheme. But I think we got a chance. And, if we can catch the ball clean, we're going to have a chance to get some yards back and kind of that hidden part of the game that not a lot of people talk about. If you've got the old axiom, if you end any drive in a kick, whether it's an extra point, field goal, or punt, you're going to give yourself a chance to win a lot of games. And I think we're going to be solid there.
You didn't play at Virginia Tech, but you went to Virginia Tech, and Frank Beamer, the head
Yeah.
coach of the program, was the special teams coach, and that special teams for 20 plus years was one of the best, in college football. And so I know my brother who played at Virginia Tech when he coached high school football. He loved coaching the special teams part, and it actually helped them win a state championship.
Yeah, you can. It really can flip a game, and there's you go to coach's clinic, and there was a stat a few years ago that said, if you block a kick, you're 80% of the time you're going to win the game.
Yeah.
I'm not a math genius, but it sounds like blocking a kick's a good idea.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for anyone who hasn't seen Forest Park play over the years or seen or isn't familiar with your coaching style, I'd like to how would you describe your team's style of play? And so I want to know what your style of play will be this year, but that may not be what your preferred style is. Like you may want to air it out, but you got these big horses up front and you may run the ball. What is your personal preferred style? And then what do you think you're going to look like this year? You don't have to give any major secrets, but
no, it's all good because I'm going to give you kind of an answer that may not be great because it's going to be I prefer the style that works. And then more importantly, the style I can teach. And the style that so often everybody looks at the kind of the latest thing and thinks that's really great. And it could be great, but if you don't know how to string it together and call some plays, I got a lot of admiration for Coach Ludden down at Massaponax. He just retired. He ran the triple for ages. And triple on paper, hey, what a great offense! Triple option. You don't have to block. You don't have to block only by like 4 guys, and you just read it and you're good. But if you don't know how to call it and string it together,
that's right.
It gets pretty easy to not pretty easy, but in the one thing with him, you couldn't give him a look he hadn't seen. He had an answer for everything. And when he had a quarterback, I remember for years I coached at Mountain View, and every year we seemed to think, okay, that kid graduated. That quarterback graduated. The next guy can't be that good. And sure enough, another kid's just boom, operating and doing his thing. And it just year after year after year. Funny story. There was always it always seemed like there was a Brumby on the team. Yeah, they had a bunch of brothers who did it, and there were Mahotas there for ages. He just knew how to call it. So I think, offensively, you got to create a system that works, that your players can accept, and that puts them in a position to thrive. Um, and it's not just one; you got to fit all the pieces. So and I've been coaching for a while. Back when I was coaching in DC, we were a 5 wide spread team just because that's what I had, and I had some pretty quick kids. When I first was over at Freedom, we tried to spread you out, and then we more condensed sets. But over the years, we've gone back and forth, and with this group, we've had a run here at Forest Park of really big linemen and really big guys on the field, and the way the trends of football have gone is kind of to the spread, and I think sometimes going the other way against the trend makes you unique and makes it a little bit harder to prepare for. And as long as it fits what we do, I'm in. And this year we've got a pretty good group, and I think we can be multiple. I think between the skill kids that we have and the big kids that we have and the tailbacks we have. But at the heart of it, this year, we averaged 7 yards a carry last year, and to say that we shouldn't run the ball much with the same group coming back, that seems kind of foolish to me.
Yeah. From doing that in high school, I carried that over to my men's flag football.
Yeah,
And
it's just
and
different.
yeah, yeah, like that outside guy. He's got to make a decision. I've got my pitch man. I've got guys running slants and everything. But I just love running something that was a little different. Everybody else was just throwing or tried to run sweeps or whatever. But yeah, I love something that's a little different. In fact, I really enjoyed watching Navy, Army over the last 20 some years.
Yeah,
Um,
you look at those two teams, the schedules they play, they shouldn't compete with the guys they're playing against,
right.
but they're year in and year out, they're keeping it close, and I think a lot of it has to do with that scheme stuff. Yeah, it's a different beast, and it's interesting. You talk about the spread, and it was so hot for a while. If you look at who won the national championship on all levels in college football, you had Michigan, who
Mhm.
was a definite run first team. I mean,
Yep.
Michigan played Penn State and didn't throw a pass in the second half. They did how it all runs and just controlled the clock. You look at the FCS level, South Dakota State won that one. They're a power I zone, quarterback read power team. Double tight, here we come. You go to D2. I want to say D2 and D3 were both run by wing T and triple option teams.
Yep. Yep.
So the trend is kind of coming back. That this isn't it's not terrible to run
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ball, and
That's right.
I think you got to be able to throw some, and we're not going to be able to get away with throwing the ball 4 or 5 times a game, and I got a rap for that. But at the same time, I can't point to a game in the last 2 years where we only threw it 5 times. I mean, we may stay in the 10 to 12 range, and that's a low number for us, but it you know it can't mess with success, and you can't really argue with at the talk about players going to the next level and things like that. You wait, you watch this college football season, you're going to see teams that can line up and run the ball are going to be playing late and playing in the playoffs.
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah. Um. So your offense, I got an idea about your style, what you like to do, and what you will do. What about defense?
Defense, on either side of the ball and anything, we want to be a physical football team. We're not going to. You're going to feel when you walk away that you played us, and we want to be fast, we want to be physical, and we want to be disciplined. And we're a multiple defense. And again, I got a really good defensive coordinator named Tim Denny who does a really good job of making sure we're in the right fits and we're in the right schemes. We have a good balance. We use a lot of those same guys on offense that we do on defense
Okay.
now. One of the really cool things about this year is we've developed a little more depth. So not everyone, we'll use, say, Brandon and Nathaniel on defense, and we'll use Evan Weeks, who's primary linebacker, as summit tight end. But what's been great with the depth we have now is we don't necessarily have to use them every down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our D-line coach, DJ Bryant, does a phenomenal job rotating those guys in there. And we'll send, that's the one kind of cool thing. We can send waves of big kids at you. Our strength this year on defense is going to be our front. Our front four plus our linebacker core between Antonio Jones and Evan Weeks is pretty good. We're gonna you you're gonna have to play pretty well to move us around. And I think we can be good in the back end, but there's a lot of unknowns. We have a lot of first year starters back there. We had some kids who played some, we got some sophomores who coming up from JV, and we have some seniors who played some last year as juniors, but haven't been the guy in the fire.
Right,
Uh,
right.
and cautiously optimistic. I think we got a good group that's gonna get it done, but I've got to see them do it. That's the big thing. Let's see what they look like. We learned a little bit last week when we scrimmaged Forge. We're scrimmaging James Monroe tomorrow night. Again, it's another test, another chance to see them play against some other guys when people are watching in a game like environment. And they'll be tested early. Our schedule is not the softest schedule in the world, so
No,
we're
yeah,
but you know, iron sharpens iron, right?
yeah, absolutely. Now, I know you have the big guys up front. You have some really strong linebackers. Are you all more aggressive, or do you like to be aggressive? Do you have the linebackers to do that? Because that can
Yeah,
help out those young guys in the back.
absolutely. Quarterback can't throw on his back, so that's kind of we live in that world, and it's you know, you, you've got to be able to one makes another one better. If you get a good pass rush, your corners and your safeties cover a lot better,
Yeah.
and if you can cover for extended period of times, that pass rush gets better. So one feeds the other. But yeah, we're going to be aggressive. We don't want to sit back and just kind of let you do your thing. That's the one thing we talked earlier about kind of this evolution of football. The one thing from youth league on, the quarterbacks are better than they used to be. Like reads
Yeah.
and things like that are pretty on the norm. I mean, kids are doing that at age 9 or 10, where when we lined up, you 10 years old, whoever could throw the ball 20 yards was a quarterback.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Now we've got kids who they're talking about one high versus two high, and they're freshmen coming in telling me this stuff. So you can't just line up in one thing anymore on defense. I think you got to be multiple. I think you got to give different looks,
Hmm.
roles, coverages. But saying all that, you can't be so, I guess, sophisticated is the word, that you're hurting yourselves. We talk a lot, and I stole this from Coach Bill Brown, who I played for, and then John Brown used to say, who I worked for when I first came up here, was, lineman assignment gets you beat more often than talent. And
Mm,
if you know how to line up right, you're going to give yourself a
right.
chance.
Yeah.
So that's what we emphasize a great deal. And we want to be physical. We want to come to the ball and come with some nasty attitudes, you know, and send you back your way, knowing that you had played
Yeah.
against us.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. When so Nathaniel Wright, I coached him his first year tackle football. His dad and I were co-defensive coordinator. Well, my thing was always, and whether I was coaching at that level or middle school or high school, wherever, I wanted to bring the heat. Now, the thing I used to say, which it doesn't work anymore because of what you were saying in terms of how talented these young guys. I used to say for years, look, I'm bringing the pressure. I said, I don't care. There's not a 15-year-old quarterback out here that's gonna beat me. But
Yeah,
now, like I'm gonna bring pressure from here and here, different places, and I don't care who you are. There's no 15-year-old that can, 16-year-old, 17-year-old can beat me and my scheme. But no, that's gone out. They can throw it around, and
yeah,
they, I try to disguise coverages and
yeah,
do this and do that, and it's like, oh,
yeah. Quick way to get unemployed.
yep, yep, yeah,
And there's a time and a place for it, but you can't live in it. You can't just
right,
have
right,
that as the only thing you're doing. You got
yeah,
to definitely, I think, mix it up, just because, I mean, you look just on our end of the county, we got some pretty good quarterbacks. Then you get in the West End, you got, Patriot and those guys in Battlefield. They're all well drilled quarterbacks. Gainesville, Coach Root does a good job with his guys. If you're going to give them one look, they're going to pick you apart a little bit.
two things. One is, can you tell me maybe an interesting fact or nugget about this year's team? Something that's maybe unusual or interesting, or somebody would go, yeah, that's kind of neat. Is there anything about this year's team?
Um, yeah, I think one, it's our 25th anniversary of the school, and it'd be interesting. And our admin's done a great job of we're promoting it quite a bit. Like, hey, the 25th, they're really pushing the reunions this year for sure. And there's a commitment to making this kind of a special place, and it already I think is, but the idea is, they've done a lot of painting, they've done a lot of updating. You come to the stadium, we got new wraps, we got new paint, a lot of things. We're looking pretty shiny, and it'd be really cool to kind of represent that with a historic year and on the football field. So that's an interesting thing, and I think talking about Dylan and the tradition of the 1 year soccer player is kind of cool around here. That we started. That's a little different. Now, I'd love to get them for multiple years, but it's just kind of worked out that they're all seniors.
So we played in the 80s, and my high school coach, the way he taught kicking was with the block and a shoe that had a big front, like Dempsey,
The old
and
Timberlands.
the Timberlands, right? And the person would just kick, but and we could have a linebacker or a lineman, whoever could just kick it, hard and straight.
Yeah.
But then my junior year, one of my good friends played soccer. This is the first time Coach Cos ever had a soccer style player. He came out. He didn't even know how to kick, but he kind of taught himself. He didn't have YouTube or anything, but going into a senior, he actually gone to a camp. And he was a weapon for us, something that Bethel hadn't had. But he ended up going on to play, be a kicker for James Madison University, and did very well there for 4 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I think it could be an interesting year for us for sure. An exciting year for us, just between kind of the buzz of just being a 25-year anniversary. It's been kind of cool. So I think there's a little interest there.
So we'll talk about this later, but I'll say the elephant in the room is the fact that Freedom does not have the same coaching staff and a lot of the same athletes.
Yeah.
And so some people are saying, oh, well, the district's up for grabs. And it is. I think you guys would be a favorite, but without even getting into Freedom, one of the things I think is hard for me. I think you all are the best team, and I think you should win the district. I don't see any weak teams.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's in a lot of ways, with Freedom the last couple of years being as good as they were, and I remember, you get to playoff time, and the big rap was, "Oh, Freedom hasn't played anybody. Freedom, they haven't been smacked in the mouth. They haven't." And as a East End Cardinal District guy, I was like, "Wait a second, you're kind of telling us that the rest of the district isn't very good." And then you saw what happened a lot. It's interesting to me that our group, we in Cardinal District, we understood what we were playing, and we worked our tail off to compete. And I mean, I wish they were still around, because if you want to be the best, you want to beat the best. You get an opportunity to play them, and they're what they do. One thing we never did is we never wrote a letter saying we're not going to play them, like that Fairfax Coaches Association did.
Right.
We played our games and we did our thing. And I think that goes to show they've cast a pretty big shadow over the rest of us. And now that shadow is gone, I think a lot of people feel like they have an opportunity to compete and be pretty good. And I think it's good for us. But having Freedom here was good for us too. I don't shy away from that at all. I think they were a good program. They had good players, and they brought a lot of attention to our district. I think they also brought in coaches, college coaches that were looking there and saw our guys, and I think it was all good for everybody. But I think, to answer your question about the rest of the district, I think it has improved over the last couple of years. We're getting, the whole of the district. You look down the schedule, and if you're not prepared, you can't just bank any wins,
Right.
because
Yep.
you're gonna have to show up and play some ball and be well drilled, and be, as a coach staff, be prepared, because every team feels like they got an opportunity this year. And we like our chances. I'm not gonna lie, we think we're pretty good, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
And you're the senior most in the Cardinal District. You're the senior most you tenured head coach.
Yeah, that's kind of
Right?
wild.
In 7 years, right? Because Hilton's got a new coach. Garfield has a new coach. Reggie's in his third year at Colgan. Potomac, I believe it's his second year.
He's third or fourth.
Oh, he is? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
he's
All
been
right.
there for a little while.
Okay, then that's right. I think okay, you're right. Third or fourth year, and then Woodbridge about the same.
Longer Beam's been there. I think this is his third year.
Third year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I'm the old man of the group. I don't know. 6 years makes me the old man. Gonna tell you about
Right.
the profession, huh?
I think you made a good point. People, a lot of us were perceiving that our district may not have been that great, but one of the things I said is no, Freedom was doing that to everybody. Like they're playing in semifinal state games, beating people like they beat people in the regular season in our district. And I'm like, wait a
More
minute,
than
you're
70
telling me
points in the state semifinal. Yeah.
you're beating people from the 757, you know, who had this tremendous amount of talent. I think the year Western Branch had beaten Oscar Smith in the playoffs, and then they come up here, play Freedom, and get blown out. And so it's like, yeah, but that's what they do to everybody. But so
Well, I mean, Daryl and his group, Daryl does a heck of a job, coach, and that's the one thing. He's no doubt he's got really good players, but he certainly he can coach. There's no doubt about
oh
that. He knows football, and you take for example the quarterback he had last year, Tristan Evans. Physically, he wasn't anything like, oh my, he wasn't this 6'5", 200-pound kid who runs a 4.4 and has a whip of an arm. But I'll tell you what, the kid didn't make many mistakes. He was well coached. And then, he gets wrapped that, oh, he's throwing all these D1 guys. I don't know. I didn't see him miss a lot of them.
no.
And that's something else in high school football.
Yeah, Tristan could play. And I'll tell you something
Yeah.
else though. Overton coach, but I've spent time in the press box if I'm covering games, and that coaching staff those guys are smart football coaches.
Oh,
Like
yeah. They're good football
I
coaches.
sit there and I'll hear the things that they'll the way they make adjustments, the way they'll call something and say, hey, this will work, because they've done their homework and they're making adjustments during the game. So that they've had talent, but they have had a really good coaching staff, and they did create a program there. Whenever your season ends, if it's after 10 games regular season, you don't make the playoffs, or you go first round, second round, or you make it to the state finals. No matter what, when your season is over and the last play happens, how would you define success for this team this year?
Winning the last one. That's what we want to do. And then, I don't want to get too like philosophical or whatever, but like I don't want the guys to walk around, look around, and say, I did something special with this group of people. And whether special, and obviously our goal is to have it special in December. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But as long as they can hold their head up and say, hey, we did this together and it was unique, and we chose to be a little bit different by playing this game, and we did it the way on our terms, that would be a huge success for me, and that they're having a positive experience about it. But and the basic answer, yeah, win them all.
There you go.
let's try and do our best to get to play in December. And that's, I don't want to shy away from that, but at the same time, it's not. A lot of things have to go right for that to happen for any team. We talk about Freedom having a powerhouse. They stayed healthy. They were able to navigate that. They only had 55, 60 kids, and it was crucial for them to stay healthy. So I think you got to have a bit of luck, and you got to have the right run at the right time and start playing really good football. And I think that's why it's improvement and crucial that you can't have week one be your best week. Yeah, we want to win it as we go, but you better be continue to improve and getting better every week, and really hitting your stride late in the season.
Yeah. That couldn't have said it any better. Absolutely, that's great. So thank you, Coach. I appreciate you doing this. I think this is gonna, I think there's going to be a demand to know more about Forest Park, and so I've got you here tonight. But throughout this season, I'd like to get on, some of your players, maybe assistant coaches, and it's the football program. Maybe get some cheerleaders, people from the band, because none of this happens just with those few people on every. Maybe even get some parents, because it is a community, and I think you've done a really good job of making everybody feel included.
I appreciate that. And again, I'm just one piece of the puzzle here. You know, it's kind of nice. I've got a lot of help, a lot of people helping me out from all those places you just talked about, from, you know, the band, the cheer, the parents, the support we have here is phenomenal. You know, it's a lot of different pieces of parts. My assistant coaches, they do just such a good job, and I'm excited about all of it. But I'd love to have all those people be a part of this whole thing.
Great. Well, look, thanks again, Coach.
Yeah, man.
And good luck on your first game. I hope to get you back on before the game, but that first game. But I know it's going to be a busy week. We'll see what we can do. But I did want to get started, get people a chance to know that we're doing this thing. And again, I just want to thank you. Is there anything you want to close with?
No, go Bruins.
All right, there you go. Hey, look, I love Bruins. I was a Bruin at Bethel. My wife went to Lake Braddock, and now this is my favorite high school team in Pennsylvania.
There we go.
All right. So for Coach John Robinette, I'm Rusty Byrd, and this has been the Forest Park High School Football Show. Go Bruins.
Go Bruins. See you guys.